everyone, and welcome. It is time for Idle Insights, and no, we're not in the wrong windows.
Oh yeah, that's right. I have this right. I have it right. Right? Yeah, maybe.
Are we there yet? No, this is a very special Idle Insights where I am stepping into the host seat, so I'm going to be the one asking all the questions, and I have Trevor in the special guest seat. So no, we meant to do this. This is not an accident.
I did just realize that I think I have yours mirrored, so you gestured the other way.
Oh no, because on mine it's like, all right, well, wherever Trevor is sitting based upon how he has it, that's the direction I meant to point. Yeah.
We're professionals.
I'm totally froze at this. Anyways, just FYI, this is a pre-recorded video because I physically can't be in two places at once when both are meeting based.
It's true.
It's a thing.
It's true.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So we won't have time or be able to do audience questions, but hopefully the questions I've pulled together for Trevor will work for today. Because, you know, this is going to be a fun, like, writer to writer type of conversation, and I cannot wait. Super excited for it. But anyways, before we get started, Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. It's going well, you know, on this nice, not a Thursday at 1 p.m.
Oh, we did at least get it for 1 p.m. I got that part right.
Oh, no, it is 1 p.m. I didn't even realize. Yeah. I got in here at the right time and everything. Didn't even realize it was 1 p.m. So, hey, we're still doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's still 1 p.m. and it's a day that begins with a T. So we're almost.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Right? We got the variant wrong, just slightly. There you go. There you go. All right. All right. So Trevor, just refresh everyone's memory. And what is your official title here with us at Codename Entertainment for Idle Champions?
I am the content designer and writer for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. The awesome fun adventures that you all play. Well, the base adventures, not the variant. I don't design that. That's Pete. I make the base one, and I write all the dialogue for it and come up with the stories that are going through it and everything, and you know, throw devourers into boss areas that you don't expect, and you know, hopefully don't ruin your run too much.
So if you're going to blame someone, you can blame Trevor. I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding. Oh my God, so kidding. Please don't. Please don't do that. But I'm hearing the word write and writer a lot. Yes. So with that in mind, how did you first get into writing as a calling? Not just something where it was sort of like a hobby and something you did on the side.
Oh, so like when did I was like, this is what I want to do? Yeah,
exactly.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go back in the way back machine.
I think it was like really the time that stands out to me was it was in college, like not too long after I started dating my now wife. We were walking around and there was a poster for a writing contest. And Tara goes, you know, why don't you enter that? You write. And I'm like, I write fan fiction. I'm like, I was just like, I write Star Wars fan fiction. They're not gonna accept, you know, my 3 generations of a Star Wars family that I've written. And she's like, okay, well, why don't you write something else? And I went, I've never thought about writing something else. And so I did, and I tried it, and I loved it. And I didn't end up entering the contest because I just kept.
I was gonna say, did you enter?
No, I just kept writing different things, and I couldn't settle on a story to enter, and so I just was like, screw it, I'm just gonna keep writing. And so when I found that, like, oh, this love of writing is more than just me being obsessed with a franchise, I just like writing. That was when. So that was probably. When I was like serious about writing, so that was probably about 15 years ago. Like that was probably when I was just like, okay, this is I want to publish a book. I want to have my own thing. I want to do writing as my job. That was about 15 years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So did any of those things that you're working on actually get submitted to anything or published, or are they just sort of like sitting?
No, what originally I had it was like urban fantasy stuff and like
Oh, cool.
vampires and werewolves and an immortal with a gun that didn't run out of bullets because the gun took a day off his life for every shot he took, but he's an immortal, so why does he care? Um, that and like I probably about like I tried to write that story about 6 different times,
Uh-huh.
and it just never worked. And so I think it was last year or the year before, I can't remember. I actually trunked it. I found out about the term of a trunk novel not long before that, and I was like, I think that's what I need. I need to just step away from this. I'm gonna put it in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, could go back to it at some point. Who knows? But it was a tough decision to finally decide, like, okay, this isn't the one. This isn't the thing I'm gonna do.
Okay.
Erin was actually really sweet when I told her that I had done that. She actually bought me a mug to like kind of commemorate my first trunk novel.
I
That was
love
really
it.
sweet. Yeah.
That's awesome. So for those who aren't in the writing community and know the lingo, what does it mean when you trunk a novel?
So yeah, it's like a metaphorical trunk. Like say that it's like, oh, okay, this novel here. This isn't a novel. This is a notebook. I'm
It's cool
not
looking
gonna.
notebook.
Yeah, it's the what is this one again? It's one of the mental health ones. But it's like, I'm not going to work on this anymore. I'm not going to think about this anymore. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
put it in a trunk so I don't see it and I don't think about it.
Right.
But it's still there if I want to ever go back to it. So
Yeah.
that's that I trunked that one, and I've been doing better writing since.
There you go. There you go. Sometimes it's good just to step away from a work for a while.
Well, and
And
like I
then
had
yeah.
done that with it before, because like
Oh yeah.
because that was like really the first big thing that I was trying to do, and it wasn't working, and I finally heard advice from, God, which video was I watching? I think I was watching an interview with Terry Brooks, and from that I got the advice was just like, hey, if it's not working, do something else. I was like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
try to do something else. And so I did write a whole other book. Like I decided to do fantasy for the first time, and I wrote like a 350-page novel and everything. It's terrible. I'm not publishing it. But I wrote it. But that's the thing. Like, unlike that other one that I could never get past like chapter 7, I wrote a whole novel. And then
Very
later I'm like,
cool.
I'm a better writer. I'll go back and do it. It still didn't work.
It's still good for the process of like honing and defining and getting things sort of
Yeah,
sorted out for yourself. I mean, it's
yeah.
always that's just it. Writing is one of those things that's like it's very much it's still muscle memory. The more you use your brain and your thoughts and everything like that, the better it is for you ultimately as a writer, regardless if
Yeah.
what you put out is, definably good
There,
or
there,
whether it's something that you're like, "Meh."
there's no wasted time
So
with it.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So just keep that in mind for those of you who are watching and thinking about doing writing. Okay, so I'm gonna start poking with another question.
Okay.
I want to know about your very first character that you sort of jumped into all in and devoted time and attention and thought to. So who was that first character for you, and what can you tell us about them?
Well, oh, this is so funny because like I knew this question was coming, and I knew I'd be talking about this character, but I didn't think about the name of it. So yeah, this is one of the things, like, because it's a trunk novel, I don't mind talking about it. Like, the first
Yeah.
character was that immortal that I talked about. Like,
Oh, cool.
this
Okay, nice.
because like I had my fan fiction stuff, and like I did create like original characters for myself. Like, obviously it's a Jedi and stuff, like, so like I have stuff that I'm taking from the franchise and stuff, but like this is
Right.
my original character that I have and everything like that, and did their own story. I was oddly very rigorous with rules about it though, where I couldn't break canon or anything.
Really?
I could, yeah, because like I know there's people who are like, oh yeah, my fan fiction character was with them on the Millennium Falcon. I'm like, no,
Uh-huh.
no, no, it couldn't appear anywhere where the movies would have been, because
Oh,
they did not
wow.
canonically show up in the film. And so I
Okay.
found ways of writing around that and everything. But
All right, that's cool.
for my original character, I liked doing, I decided to sit down and just write out a bunch of ideas for characters, and I liked them a lot, and it was just kind of doing like character irony on stuff. So
Yeah.
like that one was he's an immortal, but he's only 30 years old. because I thought that
Oh,
was just kind of funny. Like he comes from a family of immortals who are like 600, 500 years old, and he's the
okay. So
youngest
he's
one
like
at
a
30.
Bebe immortal.
He's a baby, yeah. His
Cool.
name was Vladimir Malcroft, because I wanted him to have like
Vladimir.
a very
Ooh.
old sounding immortal name, but he
Yeah.
hated it, and so he had everyone call him Vee.
Stop it.
That was why I was laughing a bit ago, because I'm just like, oh yeah, no, the character's name was V.
Okay, important question though. Was it V the letter or V like I do it, VEE?
V the letter, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. See?
But yeah, no,
That's really interesting.
it was a urban fantasy with just a bunch of stuff that I wanted to see in there that was wacky and funny and cool. Like I kind of had this thing where I'm like, if I couldn't make it make sense and I couldn't just make it be cool, I'd make it be funny. So like
Uh-huh.
anytime in the world building I couldn't figure something out, I was just like, just turn it into a joke.
I like it.
So yeah, that one was like, I always had fun with those and everything, but urban fantasy I just don't think is my thing for writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like because like the thing is with it is that I can go into a, like, let's say like the movie Underworld or something, right? Like I love that movie. Like, you got
Mm-hmm.
badasses fighting vampires and werewolves, cool.
Right?
I can turn my
Getting
brain off and I can just watch that.
yeah.
But when I try to write urban fantasy and I'm like, this is how magic works, and I'm like, but like, what about other cultures and how their magic is? How does
Gotcha.
this treat that? If I'm saying that this is the only true magic, that's not really cool. So like,
Right.
it's one of those things where like I can turn my brain off for that when I'm watching or taking in anyone else's stuff. But when I sit down to write, I'm like, I can't get over some of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so the scale that I wanted to do things on, it just didn't work, and so I might take that character and do something with it in another
Cool.
place.
Oh, I
um
like that.
but for right now, yeah, that one's just off to the side.
Just kind of off this side. So is
Hmm.
it that you want to sort of tweak some things about Vlad and adjust them
Oh yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah?
they like, I think honestly it'll probably just end up being the idea of him, not quite
Uh-huh.
the 30-year-old immortal thing, because like I said,
Gotcha.
like it was just kind of like, it was just kind of building on what ended up being like bits and stuff like that, where it's like, he's an immortal but he's only 30, he has a gun that never runs out of ammo because he takes a day off his life every time he fires it, but he's an immortal, so what does he
Jokes on
care?
the gun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like it was just building on bits and stuff like that, and the character I feel like just kind of ended up being hollow. So like that was another thing
Uh-huh.
of like learning characters and stuff like that, and their arcs and all of those things were
Right.
important, instead of just having haha I make funny joke and shoot.
Ta-da!
Yeah, exactly.
Taking it from like one dimensional to three dimensional, etc. Okay,
Exactly.
so very cool. So you go from V, not
Hmm.
me, his character V. Okay,
Yes.
let's be clear about that one. So you go from this particular character, and now you are basically at the point where you come up with the concept of Wren. Now, Wren is extremely unique. It's this, 3-in-1 styling type of champion. It's not just, the one champion. It's actually like three different characters meshed into the one. So how did you approach the creation of her, considering you had to merge these three different versions and keep in mind this was going to be a champion?
So this kind of came about from the first time that I read Turn of Fortune's Wheel. Um, it reading an adventure for the first time as the content designer is a wild experience, because as you're reading it, I'm taking in, like, I'm having all these things in the back of my head, like, what have we done in Idle Champions already? Who are the
Right.
champions that might be in this? What are some things that we can do with this from a game mechanic wise that are interesting? Where, who would make a good boss? Who just needs to
Right.
be an NPC and stuff like that. But when it came to reading the section about the glitches, that was a part where like I was like, this could be an interesting like new champion.
Okay.
And so that was actually where I started with it, was pitching to Chris Dupuis, like, hey, I think we could have the Evergreen character be something very different from what we've had before by being able to change between different states. Um, and so we talked about that for a little bit. We brought Pete in to, you know, discuss like what's possible, what's feasible. Here's the thing, chat. There was a lot of things that I got told no on because they're like, that
I was gonna say, what was that like?
Yeah, it was, you know, because I was going for extremes of differences and stuff like that, and they were like, I think in order to like make this a something that will work in the game, we need to reel this in a little bit. So like there were certain things that couldn't easily change between a button click. So like one of them was gender. Gender was couldn't be swapped between the two, and so I decided, I'm like, okay, she's just gonna be you know, she's gonna have the gender tag female for all three of them. And I will be honest, I don't think I've actually talked about this. Like the main reason I do that is because we don't have as many female characters to male characters. That's why all of the characters that I've made so far are female. I do know that the they them pronouns are also much lower on there, and that is also on my list as for whatever I get to do next. But I thought that with this one having her having the female tag to not only have that boosted once but 3 times.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And so like that, but that's like the kind of stuff that when it comes to making a character for the game, that is different from making a character for like anything else, because when it comes to you know, if it was just an original character I do, you know, whatever just popped into my head for it. You know, she might have started as Wren and then changed into you know, someone else that was completely different, or you know, different pronoun or anything like that. So taking into account the game mechanics of it when it comes to making a character, but then also, you know, how many of one thing do we have in the game already? How many of this class do we have? What's already in that seat for that class? And all of those things dictate what is what I'm able to do. Like for instance, her third form originally was going to be a dragonborn storm sorcerer.
Ooh.
But then we got the deal with Baldur's Gate 3, and the Dark Urge is a dragonborn storm sorcerer, and so that had to change. And I think before that I had even pitched her being a paladin in that form, and I can't remember why that one didn't happen. So like there's multiple things that go through it that dictate what I'm able to do.
Right.
And so when it came to, you know, this champion, and they're like, okay, so here's what we want to do and everything like that, here's what we're able to do, I had some ideas, but I you know, decided to go with, you know, something completely new, because like I you know, I could just be as easy to be like, this is a character I've had on D&D Beyond, here you go. But I wanted to do something different, and so that's why like I wanted to do things that we probably weren't going to see from other things in other parts of the game. That's why the first form is a dwarf monk, because like you don't see that combination a lot.
No,
that's
really
why
don't.
the second form is a tabaxi barbarian, because again, you don't see that one a lot. And the and
I mean, I see it every day with Rory.
I love that. But yeah, then the third form was a warforged, because we only had one other warforged. I think that's right. Yeah, I think Warden's the only other one that we have.
Yeah.
And doing a clockwork soul sorcerer is something else that we didn't have in it. So it was finding what I was able to do and picking from those to make things that were unlikely to see in the game and create a fun and interesting combination, and one that I thought I could tell a good story with.
Yeah, no, I like that. So it was basically pulling in all the different pieces of what's sort of floating around and combining those together to get your 3 inspiration points, essentially, is what I'm hearing. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So out of the 3, which Trevor just mentioned again, hi, everybody. If you're just joining in, this is Idle Insights. I'm acting as host. This is pre-recorded. So
you're
grateful
much better
you're here.
At this than me. I forget to do this all the time. I just go to podcast mode.
It's fair though. That's like, you're used to doing podcasts. I'm used to doing hosting stuff. But yeah, we're being pre-recorded right now. So unfortunately we can't answer questions for you. So I'm the one who gets to put Trevor on the hot seat. Yay! But with everything you just listed in terms of the 3 different versions of Wren, which of those three sort of resonated the most for you? You liked the best?
Oh boy. Um, well, like the
Did I just
I think because I spent a lot of time with the dwarf form version of her. Well,
uh-huh.
and so this is the other thing that's interesting that I don't think I've really gotten across in the story so much, and that's just kind of out of the way that like the story in Turn of Fortune's Wheel is. Um,
Right.
these three are, you know, in the champion that we have, that is Wren, and that is someone who is just kind of new to this world. She does, like, while she does have a previous form, which you learn about in Turn of Fortune's Wheel, that's not who she is anymore. Like, this is almost like a whole new person. And so these three forms of her are Wren, but those forms are taken from throughout the multiverse. Those are people that exist. They have their
Mm-hmm.
own name, they have their own history, and everything like that. I actually know one of the names, and you might learn about it at some point in a different campaign.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
so there's when it comes to like her in her form, like it is very just like the mechanics of that form. When it comes to like what my favorite is, I kind of separate the backstory and stuff from
Uh-huh.
her because they're three completely different people.
Yeah.
And so like the flavor text that I did for the equipment, that's why it is split into like two rows each of them,
Gotcha.
so that like I could get a little bit of those stories in there, not just Wren.
I like
um
that.
I like the idea of being able to explore those characters just a little bit in some way.
Yeah.
But I think mechanically, I think like I just really like, as soon as I made the Tabaxi Barbarian, I'm like, oh, I think I want to play with Tabaxi Barbarian. Like, I really just
Right.
love the idea of this big burly cat person with a giant axe, just, you know, wrecking house. And Barbarian is a class that I haven't played yet. And
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
yeah, so like I think if I the next chance that I get to do something like that, I think I'm gonna do this big burly Tabaxi Barbarian. I
I
like
like
it a
it.
lot.
I like it. That's fun. That's definitely fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so with the equipment then, how about we talk a little bit more about that? So you have the equipment going on and you're specifically choosing certain bits of it to nod to each of the three variations,
Yes.
correct?
I'm actually
Yes.
gonna bring it up
I was
right
going to
now
say, I
because I
see what
can't
you're doing in your
remember.
glasses. You're pulling things up.
I couldn't remember
Um,
exactly which ones they were and stuff. Um, yeah, I'm going to the doc where I wrote all of it. Hey, there it is. Yeah,
ta-da.
so when for like equipment, most of the time, like, well, I mean, you know this very well, for when it's a
Yeah.
content designer, when we do the
Yeah.
design calls, we have sections in there for like, what do you think would be good for
Yep.
equipment? And
Yeah.
so those ones are fun because it ends up becoming like a scavenger hunt for me, because then I'm going through like videos of streams and stuff like that and finding where they popped up and seeing what I
Hmm.
could grab to put in there and whatnot.
Yeah.
um, but for characters that we don't have content creators with, most of the time, either Pete comes up with the idea of what they are and I do the flavor text, or I'm, you know, helping and being like, I think this is the equipment that we should have, and then going
Gotcha.
and doing it later. This one was the latter of that, where it is I got to make the entire list of equipment. I got to put all of the art notes for it, and then I wrote the flavor text for it.
That's
um
awesome.
and and so yeah, the bits that I could do there, it was fun to like kind of figure out what I could do with items that were interesting for a location, because
Uh-huh.
all three of them I do know canonically where they are in the multiverse. And so finding things that worked with that, but then also could tie into her, that would be fun to write about. So, for instance, the dwarf form, one of the items is and I don't know how to say this out loud because I've only read it, I haven't said it out loud. The history of Nidar. I don't know which one it is, but that is from Dragonlance.
Cool.
That is Nidar is a I think it's one of the dwarven people or something like that. I can't remember
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
But so I knew that I wanted her to come from Dragonlance.
Okay.
And then the Tabaxi form, I knew I wanted to come from the Forgotten Realm, specifically in one of the desert areas. And so I found this
Nice.
area where purple worms are very common there. So she does have kind of like this Dune thing where she's like a worm slayer
Uh-huh.
and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then of course, like I wanted the Warforged form to be from Eberron, but I wanted to have her be like a little bit more, have something a little more than that.
Okay.
And so I have the Kyber dragon shards as one of her pieces of equipment, but through the text and stuff like that, I kept putting in these things about memories and stuff like that, and it's kind of hinting that she may be repeating things. She may be
Cool.
not going through time the same way everyone else is. And I like that with her being a clockwork sorcerer and everything like that. And also, I will say this: one of the reasons I did some of the rings that show up on here is because I have the physical ring set that I bought, and they were in there, and I thought it was cool that I
Nice.
had physical versions of rings she
Uh-huh.
has.
Uh-huh. No, I love that. That's really cool. I mean, honestly, like using the equipment is more of a impetus to help drive the backstory is really an awesome way
Well, that is
to
kind of
tie it
how
together.
I approach the flavor text on any of them, on these or feats, is that I'm trying to like instill what the character is and have moments
Yeah.
from them in there. So yeah, I actually I love writing flavor text. It's really fun. Coming up with the names for things
Gonna
is
say,
probably the hardest part. Especially
interesting.
because the common and uncommon are the same picture.
Yeah. Yep.
And
And you gotta,
yeah,
yep.
I think I've talked about this on the show at some point, but like I've started making it so that the common one actually has the more interesting name.
Oh, I like
So,
that.
because I thought, like, why are you collecting the common one? I'm like, well, because I've made it cool, hopefully.
Yeah.
So like the common version is the name of it is kind of like the ideal or descriptor of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
for Wren's first one, Ancestral Connection is the name of the book,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
uncommon one is the name of the book itself, which is History of Nidar. So that's just a fun
It's
thing that I've been
clever.
doing with it.
No, I really like that. That's a great way of handling it for sure. So sort of in connection to this time and effort you put into creating Wren, what when you're writing characters, do you find that, with all these various characters you're creating for various works and, books and stories and novels, do you find that oftentimes you kind of pull on a similar thread, like either they have like similar habits or similar personalities, or there's sort of like a default archetype within your own writing?
I do have to really rein in every character from being a smartass because of me. Um, it is like
Shocking.
my default thing to want to write is to just have a smartass.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm always like, no, 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 no. You're like serious and stuff, so you got to get back here.
Come over
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Let's not gravitate towards that part.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I definitely I do like having these very different characters who hopefully in just you have just dialogue, and yeah, there's a little portrait there, but like I hopefully am writing in a way that you know who it is without looking at that portrait, without looking at that
Yeah.
name. Like I love writing Minsk because he is so different from everyone else. I love writing
Yes.
Celeste because she is so serious on things, and so the times that I let her break from that, I enjoy those moments a lot.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, no, it's this job has been really fun for writing so many characters. Like
Hmm.
I could not ballpark how many characters I've written for in voice now, because it's just you know, not only do you have the ones that are the mainstays for each campaign,
Yeah.
you have all the side characters, you have the flavor text, and you know,
Yep.
any equipment or feat that has come out since I've taken over has been me. So like even the like, you know, when a champion gets a new feat or something like that, like so I'm getting to write for champions that I've never written before either.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so like I had to write some for Okoria a while ago. I had to write feats, and I'm like,
Oh,
I've
that's right.
never
Yeah.
written for her before.
Yeah.
So I have to now go look at some of the stuff that she has in order to try and get that voice to show up in that flavor text.
That's really cool. So are there resources for you to help you sort of keep track of, because we're what, 140 champions now?
Yeah, something like
Is
that.
there
I
something that
love them.
helps you keep track of like how each of these characters could sound? Because like I know it helps when it's like, Lauren and I are literally just a message away, like, hey, is this something that your champion would
Yeah,
say?
yeah,
But when it
yeah.
comes to other characters, like how do
We
you
we do
pull that
have
together?
we do have a voice guide for Brunor and Catti, because they
Uh-huh.
have very distinct ways that their text shows up. But other than that, nope. I
No.
just kind of keep it in my head and go, okay, it's this character now, and
Uh-huh.
switch over to that. I don't have like that might be a good idea to do, of putting a text doc together of just like maybe like a quick
Right.
sentence description or something, but
Yeah.
like it's kind of just as I'm going and stuff like that, because you know, outside of those few times where a feat pops up where it's like, oh, you got to write this one for someone you've never written before, most
Yeah.
of the time I'm writing adventures who do have the same characters, or you know, characters who are showing up again and stuff like that from the campaign,
Gotcha.
so I can kind of focus in a little bit more on that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um and I'm able to pull up those voices better.
I like it. So, okay, this is because I know when I'm creating and writing, all my characters have distinct voices that I hear. Do you actually hear their
Oh yeah.
voices, or is it okay?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was wondering.
When I'm writing, I'm essentially like playing out in my head the scene, and I'm writing down what they're saying.
That's okay.
So like yeah, I have a voice for Jarlaxle, I have a voice for Celeste, I have all of these different voices
Uh-huh.
for these characters, and so like, you know, there are times though where like I'll be writing something, like right now I'm working on Turn of Fortune's Wheel, and I'll someone will be like, okay, Calliope, and then I write a thing, and I'm like, oh well, I don't know if I don't know if Calliope would say that one. Who would say that? Oh, you
Uh-huh.
know what? That Freely could say that. So then I'll go back and change the name to Freely, and then I'll change a few things in the sentence to fit more of Freely's voice for it.
Freely's vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. So then do you find when you have a character whose voice is hard to hear that they're harder to write?
Um, I don't think they're quite harder to write. It's more of just like I might lose the voice on it. Like one of the things, like I know one of them that like I do kind of struggle with keeping certain things that they say is Mort. I love Mort. Like that's the thing. Like I really
Mort's very distinct though.
I do, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and so like, you know, I'll make sure to put in debtor and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
you know, I've really pulled back on calling people chief, because I'm like, because it's funny that first time, it's not as funny the other
It
times.
starts losing its
Yeah,
charm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
like, you know, so I actually more I did make a doc for. I played through
Okay.
I think about 3 hours of Planescape Torment, and was like writing down things. So like you notice that when he's talking, the cat has arrived. It needs attention.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
It's Hemi.
but yeah, like I noticed that like instead of saying like word on the street is, he says chant is. So like I have stuff like
Interesting.
that that I'll try and throw in there. And then there's Vecna, who I've just completely thrown out literally anything at all and just done whatever the heck I want with, because I thought it
Uh-huh.
was hilarious to have Vecna be the comic relief and quest caller for the campaign. And so I just did
Mm-hmm.
whatever the heck I wanted with that.
I love that. I love that so much. That's fantastic though.
Yeah.
Seriously. It really is great. Okay, so we're talking about like, classic D&D characters, recognizable characters from D&D campaigns. How does being a writer and a dungeon master work for you? Do you ever find yourself going overboard with lore, NPCs, the whole catch-all? Like, what's that process like for you? Because you do have this writing background, but then there's also like the element of being a dungeon master when you go to sit down and write a campaign.
So like there's a thing that I said on my old podcast repeatedly, was just like, if you're prepping for a campaign or a session and you're writing down what the player should be doing, you're outlining a book, you're not planning for D&D. And
That's really good advice though.
yeah, like you have, as a DM, when you're at the table, you have to have all of
Yeah.
these opportunities for things to happen and whatnot, and you can't write down what the players are going to do because they literally might not.
That's just it.
Yeah, and so I used to be an over prepper as a DM. Like I actually just literally the other day found my first DM notebook. And I
How
looked at it,
big
I'm
was
just
it?
like, my guy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Why so many
Boy.
words?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um and like I'm definitely a light prepper now on things for games. I've literally gone into a game with a sticky note and run a 3-hour session. And so when it came to doing this, funny enough, Dupuy told me, he's like, I want you to think yourself as the DM for this game.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
was like, okay, excuse me. That now I have to switch my head from, having all these possibilities of things to,
Right.
I can do pretty much whatever I want with it, including the characters, but I still want to keep that mindset of being a DM.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an interesting combination of things, because when you're a DM, when you're putting things together for a D&D session, you're probably not sitting there and going, what logically makes sense to be in this haunted house? You're looking at it like, what's gonna be freaking cool? What
Right.
what kind of
Yeah.
thing do I want my players to come up against that would be in this? And so doing a combination of planning out what the characters were going to do and say, along with the things that they were going to be coming up against and fighting, was a combination of those two things that ended up being like, oh no, I am doing that thing that I told everyone not to do, and now
Right.
that's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
So it's been really fun to do that, because it's let me really use like DMing to like kind
Mm-hmm.
of be my professional thing. Like I was a professional DM and stuff like that, but like being able to look at a book, know, and like I said earlier, like keep in mind the mechanics and everything like that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being able to situate that and know what I can take out of a thing and be like, we're not doing that, and just
Yeah.
throwing it off to the side,
Yeah.
it's a skill that I don't know I would have had even like, like 8 years ago or something like that, where I don't think I could have been able to properly put these adventures together for people to play through that didn't just end up being a beat for beat thing of the book.
Right.
And then also one of the things that we try to do in this game is not ruin surprises for people at the table.
Yeah.
So like we omit twists and stuff like that sometimes, or put in our own twists.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wren, I won't spoil what it is for folks if they haven't played it, but I just revealed in the most recent one that came out that there is a big twist with Wren. And so that is something that's not in the book that we added to it, that makes it so that there's still an excitement, there's still mystery
Yeah.
to these things, but it's not stuff that is going to necessarily ruin your time at the table by being like, oh, well, I already know what this is
I
because I
know what's
played
gonna
that idle
happen.
game. Yeah, yeah.
Right, but that's definitely a thing. I mean, I know far too many times I've found out things about campaigns way before I even had a chance to play them, just because
Yeah.
of what I do. And it's you try and play like you don't know what's going to happen, and you try not to meta, but face it, you have that knowledge, so it's hard not to
Yeah. I
let
get
it
that.
influence you.
I have
Yeah,
been told I'm oddly good at it.
well, that's
Where,
good.
yeah, like I once knew a spoiler for a campaign my friend was running for 2.5 years.
Oh, dang.
And it finally got revealed, and I just shot up and out of my seat. I went, finally!
Finally!
I've
Right?
been sitting on this two
Right?
and a half years. And everyone was like, I never would have guessed you knew anything about this campaign.
Right. But it's a tricky line to walk when you
Yeah.
know the information and you're playing with a group and you don't want to have that revealed. So I think it's honestly awesome that,
Mm-hmm.
the effort is made not to have
Yeah.
significant spoilers included,
Yeah.
because you don't want to pull away from that experience. And I think that's fantastic
Exactly.
that it's, handled in such a fashion, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. So before we need to start wrapping things up, um, I like to ask this of other writers. When is your writing sweet spot, and what is your ideal writing environment?
Ooh. So I'm guessing when you say writing sweet spot, you mean like time of the day.
What time of day? When do you find is your writing sweet spot, and where are you most comfortable writing?
I like
Like for
more.
me, my sweet spot is like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it has to be a quiet house with the windows open.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's me. That's me.
I definitely like morning writing. It's again, quiet house thing and everything like that is really nice.
Yeah.
But when I get into the zone on it,
hmm
I mean, like, the most recently I've been handwriting, not for the game but for myself. Uh,
That's brave.
yeah, like, so let's see, this right here, this is 25 to 88. So what is that? Like, almost, that's over 30 pages. Yeah.
That's a good chunk of
Oh no,
pages. Yeah.
that's way over 30 pages.
Yeah, that's way over 30 pages.
Yeah. That is, this has been me getting into the zone
hmm
on a project. And so, like, the reason I'm doing the handwriting one is because I can just do it anytime that I want.
Gotcha.
When it comes to writing like writing the project, writing the book, it usually is, yeah, I will schedule out time. My writing space is here on my keyboard. Honestly, that is one of the things that I need. I need a satisfying keyboard.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I love the
The click, the
clickety
click, click.
clacks and everything like
Yep.
that. I have a very nice Keychron keyboard. Actually, here, I'll hold up a little bit. Look how gay it is. I love it.
Ooh. Yeah, see, I got one, so
Yeah.
relatable.
And so, like, I need that, and really it's
Yeah.
just, it's the keyboard and it's the screen, and I need music. And
Okay.
most of the time I will have a playlist that is either for the project or just something that I can have on in the background. Right now, my favorite is like lo-fi music of video games. Like, I have
Yes.
an Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion lo-fi
Oh, that's
soundtrack that I've had
cool.
on loop for like the last 3
Okay, I need to find
days.
that. I need to find
Um,
that because I just have like random lo-fi that plays
yeah.
every so often. So
Hilariously,
that
I
makes
also
sense.
have one that's a lo-fi playlist of the soundtrack to Berserk, which I just think is hilarious. It's just like, yeah, this really horrifying, messed up, terrible
There's
show,
lo-fi?
and there's lo-fi. It's really good too.
I would not have expected those two to like, high-end meet.
Yep, yep.
What?
There we go.
No way.
But yeah, so yeah, keyboard, words on screen, and music. The one of them that I do like, that Aaron suggested to me. This, I keep saying Aaron. This is Aaron M. Evans, incredible author,
Our
former
Aaron, yes.
content designer for me. She actually recommended a, like, doing a thing that, like, it's like a little ritual thing of like, okay, I'm in writer mode right now. And so I actually
Mhm.
went and got like one of these Bath and Body Works like lotions, because she's like, when she puts that on, that smell, it's writer time. And
Oh, I
so
like that.
so I have that one occasionally when I remember to do it. But yeah, I think that's so, like early morning and just kind
Uh-huh.
of this spot is my thing. But um, if need be, I will write whenever.
All right, cool. No, I like finding that out. And it's always incredible how vastly different the responses are
Hmm.
from the circle of writers that I do know. So another morning person. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna be my last question for you before we start wrapping things up.
Okay.
As a writer, what bit of advice would you give to anyone who is on the cusp of starting a project?
Cusp of starting a project. So like this is someone who it's not like, oh, how do I get better at writing or anything like that. They're
Yeah,
like they've got
not
they've
that.
got the thing, they've got the idea and all of that. Oh boy. Like, I'm an outliner, so I need an outline there to do the project. Um, I know people don't. I B Dave is very upset with you. I'm okay with you. Um, the thing is that like I guess when it comes to the point where you're like, okay, I have all these things, I want to write a project. I guess the important thing is to do it. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter how you do it. It doesn't matter if you are handwriting your entire first draft. It doesn't matter if you're writing it in Google Docs. It doesn't matter if you're scribbling on the back of a napkin. Do it. Like that's really the only thing that matters at that point. If you've gotten to the point that you're confident enough to be like, I'm going to do this, do it. Like just make sure that you finish it. I will get a
Yeah.
little more technical on this because I know that there's folks who are like, well, I've tried and I can't get to the end of it. The best advice I have for you there, do not go back and edit as you're writing. Make
Mm-mm.
what I do is I have this was the advice that I heard on writing excuses. That's one of the podcasts and this was Mary Robinette Cole, and this literally is what made it so I finished a book the first time. You have a separate text doc, and so like you're in like chapter 3, and you're like, oh, I forgot to mention that she has a pocket watch in chapter 1. Don't go back and add that in the
Nope.
other text doc. Right, chapter 1 mention pocket
Add.
watch, and
Yep.
then you
Yep.
keep writing like you've
Yep.
already done that.
Yep.
And that is the thing that I absolutely saved me and got it so that I could finish writing a book. Because that at the end of the day, that is the most important part, is that you finished the book. I cannot describe to you the feeling of finishing it and going, oh, I can do this. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like once you've finished one book, you can go, oh, I can do this. Yeah.
Yep.
That's why
Yep.
I have finished 5 books. I've written
That's
5
impressive.
books. They're never going to see the light of day. No one in the chat
No,
be
but still,
asking
you've
right
written them.
now. But that's the thing. Like the important thing is that I did it and that I finished
Yeah.
it and that I know I can do it again. And that's the part that will push you on. So yeah, if you're starting up, just do it. We'll do the Nike logo. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I tell them the same thing when it comes to mini paintings. Just start doing it. Just start painting. So
Yes.
fully support that one. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting close to when we need to wrap things up. So again, this was pre-recorded, everyone. Thank you for hanging out and watching with us today. Wren is out in Idle Champions.
Yep.
Make sure you log in, start playing, and get Wren added to your formations and check out Wren's 3 different forms.
Yeah.
Again, there's some pretty cool ones. And Treavor has created this fantastic champion for Idle Champions, which is why Vee Mus'e was your host for today, and Treavor is your special guest for today. So before we wrap up and say goodbye, Treavor, where can everybody find you?
Oh
How do
boy.
they find the Treavor?
Yeah, you can find my social media ghost on most social medias at the Treavor. There's an A hiding in there. I'm not really active on there because social media just is kind of a soul-sucking, terrible thing that once I stopped using, I felt so much better.
Well, there you go.
Honestly, the best place to find me is on the Dungeon Scrawlers Discord server. Mainly because the other good place to find me is the writing about dragons and shit podcast. Yes, I said the word on there and we didn't bleep it this time because it's my podcast name and I'm going to say it. So yeah, you can find that show. I do that with Aaron M. Evans and B. Dave Walters, and we talk about writing. We have a lot of awesome, fun guests that come on there, and we have channels in the Dungeon Scrawlers Discord that you can go in there, and if you at me in there, I will most likely respond. So that's the best place to find me, and you can find an invite to that Discord in the description of Writing About Drags and shit. Go to the newer ones. The older ones don't have them. Maybe I should go back and add those. That sounds like a lot of work, but I might do that.
That might be, yeah, that'd be cool. All right. So thank you again for joining us, everyone, today. We'll be back with Idle Insights next week, where Trevor will be sitting in this window and someone else will be in the other window. And you can find me tomorrow for a live paint and slay where I'm going to be doing we're calling it lo-fi. So basically it's going to be like I'm playing music while I'm just sitting and painting, and every so often I will turn my mic back on and tell you what I'm doing and then turn the mic off and then just keep painting along to Jason Charles Miller's music. So that's the plan for tomorrow.
Get your minis and just chill.
Exactly.
Yep.
What a way to start a Friday. Yeah. All right. Until tomorrow for me and until next week for Trevor, take care, everyone. Bye.